Hi, everybody. This is Arun Gala. My podcast is called Grabbing Coffee with Arun, where I talk with everyday people that are doing interesting things. I'm in North Carolina visiting my sister. It's pretty cold outside, so that's why I sound a little raspy for some reason. Um, but my guest today is Sabrina Martinez, and Sabrina is she's loves theater. She's been describing, she's an audio describer, and she'll tell us what that is. Just to start off with, Sabrina, welcome.
Thank you.
So, for my audience, Sabrina, why don't we explain what audio describing is?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that we could describe audio describing, but specifically just talking about what I do, it's with live theater or live events where I describe the visual elements of the performance or the event. And my listeners, my blind and low vision listeners, have a headset where they hear me speaking, but it doesn't interfere with the rest of the audience's experience of the event.
So, would that be at like the Alley Theater? And
Yep, absolutely. So here in Houston, I describe at the Hobby Center. I've described at the Alley Theater, Miller Outdoor Theater. I've actually even described the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So any theater that has a request from a blind or low vision person, or actually even I understand from a friend of mine who has a nonverbal autistic son that audio description actually helps those folks enjoy the performances as well. So anyone who requests audio description from any venue in Houston, I may be one of the ones who shows up there and does your live description.
so, how did you get started with that? Do you have to have a pretty good voice, or?
Yeah, well, it varies. So I'll tell you, right now there's no certification. So literally anybody who decides to call themselves an audio describer can do it. But how I got started is I was a reader at Sight Into Sound. I read People
Mhm.
magazine, and I happened to go there one day with my hobby center volunteer uniform on, and the volunteer coordinator said, "You like theater? I have an opportunity for you." And then I started training by I did a an online course called Visual Made Verbal, and then just listening and sitting with other audio describers so I could pick up their technique. And then I was off on my own.
Oh, that's interesting. Is it so? Is it difficult to like describe like theater in terms of like the hobbies? I mean, like the musicals and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I would say, well, I don't want to say difficult. It just takes work.
Uh-huh.
For a musical, a show that's 2.5 to 3 hours, I might prepare anywhere from 15 to 20 hours. That
Wow.
includes watching the show multiple times. I get and read the script. And then I have to write pre-show notes to go over some of the major things in the show because the key for audio description is that you don't want to talk over the actors while they are talking or singing. That's called
Right.
stepping on the dialogue or stepping on the lyrics. So you have to figure out when you can talk, when the pauses or breaks come in, and so that's what takes a lot of the time. And then, like I said, putting together the pre-show notes because I can't necessarily go into a lot of detail about sets or things like that during the show. So we talk about that for about 10 minutes before the show, and then I can just do quick, pithy reminders during the show of, we spoke about this earlier. It's the blue curtain or the red dress or, that sort of thing.
So if somebody like me want to walk into the hobby center, if I want to request that, what's the process in doing that? Or?
Yeah, so it's going to vary from theater to theater, but specifically for the Hobby Center, they have pre-scheduled dates. So you can go on to their website, thehobbycenter.org, and look for audio description dates. The same with the Alley Theater. They have their audio description dates. But something like if you were going to a venue that doesn't have pre-arranged audio description, you could just call the box office or the patron services or customer service and say, I would like to have, I'm planning on coming to a show. I would like to have it audio described. And then they would arrange that. And as you know, it's a legal requirement that they, because of the ADA Act, that they have to give their best effort to provide something. So I would say anything that you want to see, definitely reach out to their box office and say, I would like to have this audio described because it is your right to do so.
Oh, so that's interesting. But like, what about movies, Sabrina? You know, a lot of times those headsets don't work, and a
Yeah.
lot of times that when you go and talk to a manager, they're not aware of what you're asking.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is a big issue.
Hmm.
And I use the word issue on purpose because I would actually make an issue of it.
Mm.
One, before I traveled there, I would make sure that their audio description does work. The people should know about it. It's a training issue at the venue if their normal everyday customer service person does it should be part of the customer service role. And if you go there and first of all, I would get my money back if they can't provide audio description and they said that they had it. And then secondly, I would take it up the corporate ladder because again, they are required to have it or provide a reasonable accommodation for audio description. Why did you laugh when I say get your money back?
Oh, because I mean, well, I mean, I guess you're complaining about something, and like if I would go there, I'd probably, yeah, it's like if you go to a restaurant or something and you don't like the food or whatever, and you would, they'd probably give you something else in return instead of giving you your money back, right? So,
Well, but to me, it's not necessarily that. It's sort of like if you called up and said, I have a peanut allergy, and
right,
then you get there and then they cook everything in peanut oil.
right,
They should have been truthful up front that they
mm,
could accommodate your request. And if
right,
you get there and then suddenly there's nothing you can eat because of their processes, you should be able to get your money back. It's not
right,
it's not like, oh, I'll just substitute. No, you promised me that you could accommodate me and now you can't.
right. Because a friend of mine, David, I don't know if you know him or not, but he went to the Astros game. And I think the describing part, for some reason, they have some service that describes the games, but it
Hmm.
didn't work. And I think it kind of irritated him a little bit. So, you
Yeah,
know, so,
yeah.
but
I don't
yeah,
know. You guys don't want to be with me because I will demand a refund or tickets to a future game or something to make me whole in that situation because you promised something that you can't
right,
deliver.
right. So let me ask you, like, say, like, if you were to describe, like, a play at,
Hmm.
of Mice and Men or To Kill a Mockingbird at the Alley Theater. Is there a
Hmm.
lot of preparation that goes into that? Because you said that it takes quite a long time to prepare for the musicals at the
Yeah,
Hobby Center.
well, I'll say there is, but not as much because typically with a play, there's a lot less set changes.
Hmm.
And so there is definitely less for a play. The thing that of the caveat I have to add in is if the play is using projections, because as you know, with projections, they can change very fast, very quickly, and so if there's a lot of projection, then there would be more preparation and more like upfront that I would have to do in the pre-show to describe all of those different visual elements.
Because even like with a movie, Sabrina, it just seems like it takes a lot of time because by the time they describe, like with this Century 21, you're describing the little logo that comes on the screen, and then
Hmm.
you're making sure that you're not talking over the characters, and it just seems like a lot of preparation goes into that.
Yeah, there definitely is. And I'll say I have done movies, but movies are sort of my least favorite because they are not forgiving to the audio describer. When you are talking, it has to fit into the little space because that little space won't change because it's pre-recorded. And so with movies, you actually have to rehearse before you record.
Right.
And but with live, I just make sure that what I'm doing, like my pre-show fits into 10 minutes, and it's just more forgiving. But with movies, you it has to be spot on, and
Hmm.
it's not forgiving, as I like to call it.
So you said you did some audio describing at the rodeo. What was
Yes.
that like?
Well, the rodeo is a whole different
Ball game.
yeah, it is. Because first of all, at the rodeo, I don't know if anybody's actually there. Whereas at a theater, I stand at the headset booth and I greet people as they come up, meet them and that sort of thing. But like at the rodeo, because it's a huge venue and there are multiple places where people could pick up their headsets, I have no way to know if there's a listener. So that in itself makes it different. Um, and then secondly, it's just like there's no way to do a pre-show. So we're doing a lot more talking. You're not only talking about what's going on the rodeo field, you're reading the jumbotron, you're trying to get the listeners involved. They have the contest up on screen, take a picture and do hashtag whatever, and you may be on the jumbotron. And so there's just a lot going on, and so you have so much to talk about, not only like this is what the athlete is wearing, this is what the animals look like, so it's a lot. It's a lot.
It just
And
seems like
so
it's a
for
lot more work, I guess. Huh?
yeah, and I would say for the rodeo there are two of us, so we can switch on and off, just to save your voice a little bit.
Hmm. So how does one, like, let's say somebody wants to get into something like what you're doing? How would they get into that? Just start doing it, or?
Yeah, so I would say the best thing to do is to start by listening to audio description.
Hmm.
And what's funny is, especially like a lot of sighted people, they
Hmm.
can't stand to listen to audio description because their mind constantly goes to, I would have said it different, or I don't think that color's right, or
Right. Right.
so first of all, you have to make sure you're not annoyed by it because one of the main things is listening so you can improve your technique. I will say that there is a certifying body that is working on a certification,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that should be available in like 2 years, 1 to 2 years, I would say, maybe 2027. Um, and so in the future, you will have to sit for an exam as well as do the hours to prove that you can do it. I don't know exactly what the certification is going to look like because I'm not involved, but yeah, right now anyone could call themselves an audio describer and hang out their shingle and start describing anywhere.
Right. The thing of it is like even with my sighted friends, when I watch
Hmm.
movies that are audio described, they're like, "Oh, I didn't even see that," or "I didn't even,"
Yeah,
they catch things that they don't see on the screen right off the bat.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I noticed that even when I was doing it live, but one of the funny stories I like to tell is I was describing the Rockettes when they were in Houston.
oh, really? That's
And
cool.
yeah,
I just read a
and
documentary on them how they're like 100 years old or something.
yes, yes. And what they do, I mean, they just do fantastic things. But all the prep that we have to do, and then just watching it over and over again, like there are things that I see because I've seen it, 8 times that I'm describing for the patrons listening to me that sighted people just didn't see because they just see it once.
Hmm.
But you tend to look at different things. You look at it from different places in the theater, up close, up above, high, those sorts of things. So you get lots of vantage points from seeing it multiple times.
Yeah, because I know, like, I go to the Museum of Fine Arts or the Museum of Natural Science, and when they describe stuff to you, it's like you catch a whole different because I had some sighted friends that went with me. They're like, "Oh my God, you're sitting there looking at a painting or artifact, but when somebody describes it to you, it's a whole different thing, you know." So,
Yeah. I will say that I'm a classic case of just because you can do one thing doesn't mean you can do any. Another funny story I have is I was at the Museum of Fine Art describing a Rothko exhibit
mhm.
for some friends here in Houston.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
I will tell you, I was terrible at art. I was with them and Rothko, if you're familiar with it, everything just looked like a black square.
Right.
And so, but that's not, and so I was just terrible at that. I'm like, I just see a black square. So yes, that was my first and last time doing an art exhibit.
Right, right. Because I mean, you look at some of the paintings at the Museum of Fine Arts. You look at it and you go, "Oh, I just see a bunch of uh, dots or whatever." When they get into it, and
Hmm.
they start explaining it to you. You're like, "Oh, I didn't." When you walk out, you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know all that was there."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly
So
right.
tell me about how one goes about uh, if they want to reach out to you, try to use your service and things like that. How would
Well,
they
probably
contact you?
Probably the easiest way is going to be I have a Facebook page.
Hmm.
It's called Houston Audio Described Events. And what I would say, I post where I'm describing there, as do other audio describers. But if you want something described that, there isn't a describer, you can just say something in the Facebook group like, hey, I want to go see the Nutcracker, but it's not being audio described. Can anyone help me out? Because it's not just me. There's a lot of audio describers in that group, and so that's probably the easiest way to reach me, and also to get Houston area events audio described.
Uh-huh. Let me ask you one last question, Sabrina.
Hmm.
So, is that different from just reading, just plain reading a book, like an audiobook for recording?
It is for sure.
Hmm.
Because I also do that, and I would say that to me is the easiest, because you're just reading what's on a
Yeah,
page.
right,
Whereas audio description is a lot of writing as well. So you need to have a large vocabulary because you don't want to use the same words over and over. And so audio description is about writing, whereas narrating is just about reading.
Do you like close your eyes and just kind of say, "Okay, what am I looking at?"
When I'm reading,
No, I mean when you're looking at something.
not really, not really. What I say is the more you see, the more you see.
Hmm.
And so I think about that when I'm writing for audio description. So I might start off talking about the woman in the red dress, but then I'd say,
Hmm.
well, what else can I say about the red dress? Okay,
Right,
it's sleeveless, it's sparkly, and so the more I look at it, the more I can say about it.
right, right. It's this stuff is very interesting. Anyway, Sabrina, thank you very much for your time. If you guys want to reach me, my email is arun.gaalla@gmail.com. Thank you very much for your time, Sabrina.
Thank you. I
All right,
appreciate talking to you.
bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.